Hey everyone. Today we're talking about metaphors. As a matter of fact, both lectures this week are about some type of metaphor. But to start off, I want to distinguish between two senses of metaphor. The metaphor that I grew up learning, the metaphor that is distinguished from a simile, and that likely you grew up learning, and more of a philosophical approach to metaphor, which we're going to adopt for the next couple of lectures. So if I was to say that an old philosophy professor is like a fossil, or if I was to say that my sister got so sunburned one time that she was actually crispy. Those would be differences between what in a grammatical sense would be called a simile, which is a comparison using like or as, or a more direct comparison, which is the crispy example, which doesn't use like or as, just says something is something else, seeing something in terms of something else. The philosophical point of view dismisses all of these sort of semantic distinctions, whether it uses like, whether it doesn't, whether it's an analogy, whether it's a simile, whether it's a metaphor, and it erases all those distinctions and says this: if you are seeing something in terms of something else, if you're seeing love in terms of a rose, if you're seeing scissors in terms of a weapon, if you're seeing a car in terms of a lemon, any of these terms, these kinds of comparisons are all metaphoric in nature, and so much of our language is in fact metaphoric in nature. It's very difficult, if you tried to speak without speaking in any metaphors all day long, it would be nearly impossible to do so because our language, especially English, is so metaphorically rich. In fact, if we extend the philosophical example even further, there are some people who even say that all language is philosophical in the sense that we always see a thing, whether it's a tree or a car or the scissors I just held up, in terms of something else, and that something else is language. In other words, we encounter the world around us through the linguistics and rhetorical choices that we make. Now, I know that's a little philosophical for this point of view, but I promise that through this lecture, what we're going to do is to try to take that philosophical point of view out of its abstract terms and apply it to much more specific types of metaphors so that you can conduct a very specific metaphoric analysis in your writing about public speaking prompt, your last prompt, this upcoming Friday.